He slowly, deliberately placed his spoon down, his eyes narrowing on his mother. "What do you mean?" "A good sign. A good sign, Mama Astri," he asked, his voice laced with the sort of faux innocence that made every parent's internal alarm bells shriek. Ostgeist. Astri, still blissfully floating on a cloud, waved a dismissive hand. "Well, sweet pea, it simply means that your father and Mott, well, it means we could have had a good night. That is all. Kumuatan." She punctuated this with a wink at Max, who responded by turning a shade of mortified burgundy that clashed terribly with the red in his bacon. "Are sleeping in the same room again," Jasper observed, a touch too shrewdly. "Did you guys make up last night?" Heavier than a grand piano. Max changed a desperate glance with Astri. The past few weeks had been a tightrope walk of tension, punctuated by separate sleeping arrangements, icy silences, and the faint, lingering smell of charred upholstery. Uneamendi, Aturibi. They had been dancing around a rather substantial argument, a veritable world war, as some of their friends described it, stemming from a ludicrous, baseless rumor that had briefly threatened to engulf their meticulously constructed life. Intufo, cased of evasive vagueness. "Well, son, look that as a nuanced situation." Vormetentlet simply stared at him, unblinking. His silence was deafening. Ombi while offsimites. The Comabi stumbled upon, bit her lip, then plunged headfirst into the awkward explanation, completely disregarding Max's non-verbal pleas for subtlety. Onsport piatad. "All right." And last night was an attempt to patch things up. Her voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper, even though Jasper was seated directly across the table, oi traumatized. But Mott was also hoping. Mott didn't hear it, you know? But then, of course, Mott did want to hear it, but then Mott didn't want to hear it, because if we all were doing it, then Mott did hear it. On to Magai's whiter. Max felt his jaw clench. This was unravelat Astri than a cheap sweater. "Hear what, Astri?" he asked through gritted teeth, desperately trying to steer the conversation back to PG territory. He glanced at Jasper, whose eyes were now as wide as dinner plates, taking in every excruciating detail. Offlinibi, traumatized. "Do what?" Jasper echoed, his head between his parents', I think a fascinated horror dawning on his face. "Make up? What are you talking about, Mama?" Oni swallowtized. Max, seizing the opportunity, slammed his hand lightly on the table, making the cutlery jump. "Your mother," he stated, pinning Astri with a stern look, "is talking about the volume of our discussion. Mott told you, Astri, as these walls are thin. We need to modulate our tones." We seemed to catch his drift. She coughed delicately into her hand. "All right. Yes, sweet pea. Your father means our talking. Like when he and Mott are just having conversations. Our conversations are quite robust." Onan. Jasper stared at them, then slowly, painstakingly. A smirk stretched across his face. "Oh," he said, the single-syllable loaded ve, kep aite, had 1,000 unspoken words. Osing, yait. Fistry. Talking. Yeah. When you and Mom are talking with Bartholomew Blue playing, and then Terence Percival gets to playing. Bulged out of his head. "Terence Percival," he blurted. "It sets Terence Percival, son, not Terry Pendergrass. And how do you know Terence Percival?" Ignoring the correction, gating us see. "Then you come downstairs, just smiling and giggling. All la la la. The sun shining. And then Mama Astri comes right behind you, and she's all and together. I all, are just a hing. Like two overjoyed magpies who discovered a new glitter hoard. Onby anyetized. Defeat, Max slumped back in his chair. Defeat tasted like burnt coffee and embarrassment. There was no hiding anything from this child. Not with these acoustically challenged walls. Oniation. The shrill, insistent honk of a bus horn echoed from the street. Divine intervention, in the form of the local school transport. Inatize. Max exclaimed, jumping up with an alacrity that belied his morning's internal turmoil. All right, Jasper, have a good day at school. Learn much. Don't talk to strangers. Watch out for low-flying pigeons. He practically shoved the backpack into his son's arms. Anxiously. Jasper, still holding a bewildered smirk, allowed himself to be propelled towards the front door. Max made a mental note to initiate soundproofing construction as soon as possible. As if on cue, Mama V, their venerable housekeeper, appeared from the kitchen, a freshly packed lunch bag in hand. Get your lunch. Mama V called out, her voice a calm counterpoint to the domestic chaos. Good morning, Mama Vid, Astri chimed. Good morning, a quick apologetic smile to Max. Good morning, my love, she murmured to him. Now sans Jasper, her expression softening into something genuinely tender. Her hand. A spark of genuine affection replacing the earlier embarrassment. Good morning, babe, Ofinakomi. Despite the drama, despite the thin walls, they were okay. Or at least, they were trying to be okay. Root of thinking, all night long. Astri confessed, her gaze serious. Odor ophelitized. That explains all that smoke then. He was referring to the faint odor of burned sage that often wafted from her thinking room during intense emotional moments. O had playfully slapped his arm. Max, be serious. Mot be. Decided to trust you. Mot believe you did not sleep with that Serafina Thorn. Ufightly. A wave of profound relief, so potent it nearly buckled his knees, coursed through Max. Serafina Thorn. The name itself felt like a viper in his mind. The woman at the center of the preposterous rumor, a woman he barely knew, let alone slept with. When you listen, he asked, his voice raw with emotion. You really mean it? You know how long Mot Bauf been waiting to hear you say that? Thank you. He pulled her into a tight embrace, burying his face in her fragrant hair. Omastri leaned into him, her tension melting away. Yes, Maud believe you. Maud met going to let it go. Onul kind. Come here, Max whispered, picking her up and spinning her around. Quaitenti yet vestenti risten, might, Wesley session. If he didn't have to face the world and the myriad complexities of daily existence, he would sweep her up those flimsy stairs, soundproof the room, and revisit the rhythmic rumblings of Bartholomew Blue 3 times. We've made this thought. Is that how we made Jasper? Winked. Maybe. We can continue this conversation, promised, her eyes sparkling. Thank you for trusting me back, Kunitutu. Mot love you, you re the best, Max reiterated, the sincerity flowing freely now that the dam of suspicion had broken. He grabbed his briefcase, kissed her again, and headed out the door, feeling lighter than he had in weeks. Boyshen. Off at the porch, his phone buzzed. It was his ever-vigilant friend, Rex Thornton, also his co-host at Apex Broadcasting Network. Rufina Thorne.